Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something really, really fundamental. We are aiming right for, well, the source of your experience. That core feeling, that sense of I am.
It's a huge one, yeah. It's something non-dual traditions have, wrestled with forever. So for this deep dive, we're drawing on sources that really focus on the path of awakening, looking at how you go from, say, that first awareness of just being to realizing that even that sense needs to dissolve into something completely uncentered.
Right, and our goal here isn't really spiritual in a vague sense. It's more like getting surgical. We want to unpack this I am idea, figure out why it's necessary for a time, but ultimately, well, why it's seen as something to move beyond. We'll look at the mechanics, psychological, spiritual, that show it's maybe just a sensation, a concept. For you listening, this is about getting that knowledge efficiently, maybe having an aha moment about what's underneath all the labels you use for yourself.
And it's definitely crucial to say up front, this is subtle stuff. Often the very last barrier, the teachers who really pointed towards finding the I am, think Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, they also warned against grabbing onto it, saying like, okay, this is it, the final truth. It's more like an exit ramp, maybe, not the final destination itself.
Okay, so let's start right there. What exactly is this spiritual I am? Because I think for most people, I am means, well, I am me, this person with this job, this body.
Right. That's exactly the usual understanding, yeah. But spiritually, the I am we're talking about is more like the raw feeling of being, pure presence. It's that sensation of existing that comes before any labels, before I am happy or I am tired or I am a parent. Yeah. It's just the basic, undeniable sort of fact of awareness being here.
Wow. Okay, so that sounds like it could be a really powerful anchor, especially if you felt lost in, all the mental stories and identities. Finding that must feel like hitting bedrock.
Oh, it is. It's incredibly stabilizing. People experience it as totally central, undeniable. It's subtle, but really compelling. Often, after some kind of initial awakening, this feeling settles in. And you think, okay, this is the permanent core. I found it. This is the root of existence, that primal knowledge. I am.
And that explains why self-inquiry, like Ramana Maharshi's Who Am I method, is so powerful at first. You keep asking, peeling back layers, roles, stories, until just this basic sense of being is left, the I am.
Precisely. And Nisargadatta Maharaj, he had a similar, very down-to-earth approach. He'd say the I am is the only reality you directly experience before you slap concepts onto it. You can doubt your job, your thoughts, even your personality, but you can't really doubt that you exist, right?
Yep.
So both these teachers point to it as a vital doorway. You have to find that center first. Only then can you start to see the mechanism of centering itself.
Okay, hang on. If Maharshi and Maharaj pointed to this feeling of existence as like the most fundamental truth we have, how can we then turn around and say, actually, it's conditional? Doesn't that just lead to, I don't know, nihilism, a black hole?
That's the perfect question, really. It highlights the paradox. The sources are clear. The I am is the ultimate truth of the conditional self, but it's not the ultimate reality itself, which by definition has to be unconditioned.
Right. And that's where it gets really, really interesting, doesn't it? If this foundation feels so absolute, so real, why isn't it the end of the line? Why does it become a limitation?
Well, it becomes a limitation because we start treating it like an object, something to grasp. It feels real because we label it I am. We interpret it. We cling to it as the foundation of me. Think of it like maybe a really comfortable prison cell. It feels safe. It's all, but it's still got walls. It stops you seeing the vastness outside.
So the I am is like the ultimate concept, the idea of existence itself, conceptualized.
Exactly. That sense of existence is conditional. It depends on awareness recognizing it, sustaining it. One source described it as being like a mirror reflecting consciousness, if consciousness sort of looks away. The reflection, that distinct centered feeling of I am, just dissolves back into the source. The solidity we feel is actually created by the mind's attention and interpretation.
I like that mirror analogy. It feels totally real while you're looking at it, but it needs the light, the mirror, your attention. So the limitation isn't the feeling itself, it's the clinging to it.
That's absolutely key, especially in Maharaj's teaching. He really stressed observing the I am, watching it arise and pass like any other sensation, but not clinging to it as some fixed point, some permanent self. The ultimate truth, which you see hinted at more by Maharshi, is the selfless everythingness, a state beyond even feeling I exist. If everything is truly interconnected, then claiming essential I has to be limiting, right?
Wow, so the ultimate spiritual challenge is letting go of the fact that you exist. That's mind-bending.
It is. And to get how existence itself might be let go of, it helps to look at how we practice letting go of smaller things first. The smaller identifications that kind of fuel that central I am feeling.
Like thoughts.
Yeah.
That seems like the front line for most people, day to day.
Thoughts are definitely where it starts. The mind just churns out this constant monologue, right? And if you're not aware, you just unconsciously merge with it. You instantly believe you are the thinker, you are the story, and that feeds the sense of a central I.
Yeah, the sources mention that. Like if a thought pops up saying, I'm inadequate, boom, identificating just pulls you right into it. Suddenly you feel inadequate, you're resentful or hurt. Just carried off like that leaf in the wind idea, lost in it.
And mindfulness practice is really the first step to countering that. You start recognizing thoughts as just impersonal mental events. Noise. You realize, wait, I'm not the voice saying I'm inadequate, or I'm not this feeling of tiredness. That's the beginning of disidentification.
Okay, but dissolving the I am itself, that's like the super scaled up version of that, isn't it? Which brings us to that more technical framework you mentioned earlier, the fetters.
Right. It's helpful here to bring in the concept of fetters. It's often used in Buddhist contexts, but spiritual sources across the board use similar ideas to map the path. Basically, a fetter is like a mental chain, a barrier that binds us to suffering and attachment, and the whole journey can be seen as gradually loosening and releasing these chains.
So we're beyond just like basic desires and aversions here. We're talking about the really deep conceptual blocks.
Exactly. By the time you get to the later stages, the chains are incredibly subtle, letting go of that centralized feeling of I am. That's often linked to what's called fetter 8. It relates to mana conceit or measuring. At this stage, you've supposedly already let go of the crude self idea, strong desires, fixed views. What's left is this very fine, final attachment, this subtle measuring that says, I exist, compared to everything else, or even just the bare assertion, I am.
Got it. So it's not clinging to what I am anymore, but clinging to the sheer fact that I am.
That's it. The final hook into conditioned existence. And how does it dissolve? This is critical.
Yeah.
It's not about forcing it, not effort. It's described more as the natural result of the earlier fetters loosening. The mind just gets lighter, less burdened by attachment, by defining itself. It just doesn't need to cling to existence as a solid center anymore.
The mind stops constantly looking for that anchor point for experience.
Yeah.
And what's left then is, well, uncentered everythingness. No center, no edge. Experience just happens without an I claiming it. Not even an I that is awareness itself. That is truly radical.
It's absolutely radical, and it's not just some philosophical idea. It fundamentally changes how reality is perceived moment to moment.
Okay, let's try and paint a picture of that. What's the difference? How does the world look or feel differently when the I am dissolves?
Well, take the sense of self. Normally, there's this strong feeling of a separate I, tied to the body and mind, solid. Even after recognizing the pure I am, there's still that identification. I exist is the center point. But after dissolution, that whole center just vanishes. There's no attachment to any center. Self, existence, they're seen as just labels, maybe sensations, fleeting appearances, not the ultimate reality.
And I must completely change how you see thoughts, right? If there's no center, there's no personal filter.
Exactly. When that center drops away, thoughts aren't phenomena happening to you anymore. They aren't things you need to watch and manage. They stop feeling personal, defining. They're just seen as, well, an interpenetrating part of everythingness. A thought arises, fine, but there's no me there to claim it as my thought. It's just another event, like hearing a car go by.
Which leads to what feels like the toughest concept for the mind to grasp, the relationship to the body and existence itself.
This is the real leap, yeah. It shifts from feeling the body as the self and existence is just assumed solid and real, to seeing the body as, well, nothing appearing as a body, a temporary form within this uncentered field. The I am is seen as just the concept that organizes that appearance. And the ultimate conclusion in these sources is that existence itself, at least, existence as defined by an existing self, is seen through as an illusion, conditional, not fundamental.
So recognizing the I am as conditional as a concept, that seems like the crucial insight here. Even if full dissolution doesn't happen for someone, just seeing that center as optional, that could make daily life feel much lighter, less defined by personal stories.
Absolutely. So recapping this dive, that spiritual I am is a huge stabilizing realization early on. It lets you observe experience, but ultimately it needs to be seen through as just a conditional concept, not the final truth. And once that happens, this unbound everythingness is no longer felt to be tied to any kind of self at all.
Okay, here's a final thought to leave you with, something provocative that brings it back to the human side of things. The sources say that when this final sense of I am dissolves, the experience can be really different for different people. Some find this immediate, peaceful openness. But others, they might hit intense fear or even a sudden flooding of old trauma. Why? Well, maybe because that final knot of self was actually serving a function. Maybe it was the mechanism holding that trauma, structuring survival. So what does it mean when the very self you've relied on to cope, to survive, is the thing that has to dissolve for this? Uncentered everythingness. Think about that tension. Survival versus ultimate realization. Until our next deep dive.